Welcome everyone to today's program. We're going to do the typical, it's top of the 9 o'clock hour here on East Coast US, Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina for myself. But top of the hour wherever you are or potentially watching this in the past. So we're going to give the customary 2 minutes kind of buffer for people to either wake up, grab their coffee, come out of a meeting, use the restroom, kind of whatever they're doing. Uh, but okay, so we got 2 minutes. Normally we ask, where you're dialing in from, things like this. I think we've hit how early do you listen to start listening to Christmas music in the past. How about this? Let's do this. One meal for the rest of your life. What are you gonna choose? And you can't say like pasta where you can make 20 things. I need a specific dish. So in the chat functionality, if you guys want to just throw me out one meal for the rest of your life, what do you choose for myself? I don't eat meat. But if I got one meal for the rest of my life, I'm going tacos. We can use some fake meat in there, but tacos, just one of the favorites. I grew up in Buffalo. Buffalo chicken wings is one of my favorite. We don't say buffalo wings there, but chicken wings is one of my favorite. But I think I gotta go to tacos now. So please feel free to use the chat functionality there. Let me know one meal the rest of your life. Another way to think about it is maybe death row meal. We've got ramen from Patricia, Tori ramen. All right. Pasta. Sue, what type of pasta? What type of pasta we doing here? We doing lasagna? We doing some Alfredo? What are we looking at here? We got pulled pork. All right, Jeremy, you from the South maybe? Texas? North Carolina like myself. All right, we got ribeye, sauteed mushrooms. All right, there we go. Jerk chicken. Chicken francais. I'm not going to pronounce a German word for that, but okay, we got some good ones here. Sue, thank you. Simple tomato pasta. Look at that. Jeremy, North Carolina. Hopefully you're right down the road from me. Raleigh, Durham over here. Durham, it's cooler than Raleigh. All right, we're 2 minutes top of the hour. Feel free to follow through with the food conversation. Everyone loves food here. But we'll go ahead and get this program started to make use of everyone's time here. Oh, Hickory, there you go. I'm out there all the time. It's in my college out there, close-ish. So there you go. Jeremy, let's connect offline on this. So, all right. Welcome everyone to today's program. We're going to talk about some email marketing do's and don'ts, a very fun topic. I think it's fun myself. So as I get situated here, I'm a terrible host today. Myself, I am Greg Zachwitz. I'm going to be your presenter, your host, your moderator, kind of everything going in here. I'm a senior e-commerce expert here at Omnisend. I've been in email marketing for 19 years now, which is crazy to me to think about. I'm going to tell some stories today, maybe about the wild west of emails, especially when we get to one of our don'ts, because I've lived it, I've done it, and it was true back then as it is now. So I've seen a lot. Some of the things we talk about today, we're going to see how things have changed over those 19 years, and even in the last, 7, 8 years, we're going to talk about some things that have kind of stayed the same over those times. There could be some things in here you're doing, and you're like, "Hey, Greg, these work for us. What are you talking about? Don't do these." Or we've done these and they don't work as well. So some of these, I don't want to say they're controversial, but there are it's like best practices. Best practices are great. They're a baseline that gets you to where you're going, and then they eventually change as consumers changes, technology changes, as all these things change here. So if there's anything that maybe I talk about today that you are doing and you're finding success with it, and I'm giving you the opposite advice, I encourage you to use either the Q&A or webinar chat, and let's have those conversations. So I'd love to get different points of view in here as well. So feel free to chime in. Also, if you have your own don'ts to something that you've learned over time, like, hey, don't do this. It's really bad for us, or it failed for us. And I've talked to 20 other e-commerce brands and it's failed for them. Feel free to chime in with those as well. So let's make this as interactive as possible. Couple of things to know before we get into the actual content. We are recording this webinar, so people will always ask. I'm sure we'll get questions in the chat and the Q&A panel. Yes, we are recording it. We'll make that available to you in the next day or two. You can always find our past webinars on Omnisend's YouTube channel as well. So be sure to check out the YouTube channel. And there's tons of different short videos on there as well for good things you need to know. And then, of course, if you do have a question, I know a lot of people will use the webinar chat functionality. I encourage your questions. bring them on. Let's have a conversation about it. But there is a Q&A functionality on the Zoom platform. So the best place to use your questions or ask your questions is in the Q&A functionality, that chat box. We do have a couple Omnisend folks on the back end here. It's a thankless job, but I'm going to thank them now. So if you have a question that's maybe can be answered outside of me, that's maybe technical or questions, just having any challenges with the platform today, they are on the back end to help you. So it's a thankless job. They go unseen, but I will thank them now. So welcome to the Omnisend crew there as well. What we'll cover, pretty simple. We'll talk about 3 email do's and 3 email don'ts, and we'll have some fun, hopefully doing it at the same time. So without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's jump in. So let's start with those email marketing do's for us here. And the first one talk about is using automation. And everyone's probably rolling their eyes right now and say, is this what I came here for? But I'm going to talk specifically about some types of automation, maybe how to use these a little more effectively and a little better for you, and really why this is the quote unquote cheat code to doing more with less, which I think we all want to do here. So last year we just put out our benchmark or stats reports from last year. We looked at, 20 plus billion marketing messages sent. We have some country specific data in there as well. You can find that on our website. It's not gated, so you can just go poke around, change some tables and stuff like that and have fun. But ultimately, globally, we saw 37% of all email marketing orders come from automated emails, and it accounts for 2% of sends. And this is a pretty consistent figure we see year over year. I think 2023 might have been 41% on 2% of sends. It's powerful. And the reason they're so effective is they send at high intent stages of a customer shopping journey. So we sign up for a welcome email, which we're going to talk about some welcome email stuff today, possibly in the don'ts. But we'll talk about welcome emails, right? They are signing up because they're on your website. They're looking at potentially shopping from you or from someone else. They are browsing your website. There's a shopping intent there. They are abandoning a shopping cart. There's a high shopping intent there. And these messages are designed to go off to these people at that particular time. And that's why they're so effective at driving sales. But not all automation is created equal, right? I've got a brand on my right side who is sending a cart abandonment message, and I've got a brand on my left side sending a birthday message. They're both going to get higher than average engagement, but the cart abandonment is just going to drive more revenue, right? There's more people abandoning a shopping cart, so less data you need. It's just more impactful for you. So when we talk about using automation, here are the three that I kind of look at when we want to use automation. We're going to focus on these three, and they are at those critical stages of the shopping journey. So I mentioned the welcome message, right? Someone gets to your website, maybe they found you on social media, you're running an ad, search result that gets to your website, or maybe it's organic. But they're going to sign up for an email program. A lot of brands will incentivize for signing up for the program. Nothing wrong with that. But the reason they're signing up if you're incentivizing is because they want the discount. There is an intent to buy there. And we see these conversion rates, they're 29 times better than a scheduled message, marketing message going out. Product abandonment, browse abandonment, kind of the same strategy here with just a different kind of level of detail. These convert 13 times better. But the thing is, they are on your website. They're browsing specific products or categories. And this is kind of these automated messages fill in the gaps between sign up, checkout, and your scheduled messages. And they're sending relevant messages at relevant times. And of course, cart abandonment, we've all heard this before. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time telling you, hey, you should do a cart abandonment message. But if you have one, you should probably do two, three, maybe even four based on value. And there's options there as well. So in the workflows, you can always say, okay, I don't need to send four messages to someone abandoning $20 in their shopping cart, but maybe I do it for $300, right? Because there's different reasons for abandoning. So we could do those splits in the automation. So these are the three that I consider core messages. Every brand should be doing them. Every brand should be looking at how to optimize these. And I'll talk about optimizing maybe the welcome here in a little bit. And then if I had to have a runner up here, and you can see this in the stats report, it would be back in stock messages. So if you have a sign up form for out of stock products on your website, that automatically triggers when that product becomes back in stock. These messages have the highest open rates, click rates, conversion rates of any automated message by far. The fact is, we just send fewer of them. I mean, we send a lot of them. We send fewer of them than you do, say, a cart abandonment or a welcome or a browse abandonment. But we're seeing this increase here a little bit. And those things, I think the conversion rate on those might be like 5.5%. So they are astronomical. If you don't have the automation set up, what I would tell people is use the back in stock methodology, right? So put some back in stock, maybe use that terminology in your subject line for restocks or things like that. Use some of that sense of urgency on there. So use automation. That's my number one. It's going to help brands increase your sales. It's going to help you do more with less. And then you can always optimize and fine tune those as you go on. So we're going to use those. We're going to use those in a smart way. All right. My second two, social proof and value adds. And this is something we do in automated messages. It could something you could do in your scheduled messages, something you could do in your SMS messages. And these are things that I think you should look to templatize in your emails as much as humanly possible. So let's walk through each of these a little bit and see what I'm talking about. So social proof. This could fall in a lot of different categories. You don't have to do all of them, but think about things like the cost of shipping, the cost of returns, return policies, if there is a cost, or they're hassle-free returns. We're talking about, say, maybe loyalty programs or, things like this. So think about star ratings, testimonials, top-rated products. All these things are really social proof here. So they are having customers provide information about your brand or your products to help influence other people. We want to build trust. We want to build consumer confidence in our brand, especially for brand new subscribers. So we talk about welcome messages. How do we do this? Well, hey, welcome to our email program. Check out our top rated products, our customer favorites, our best sellers. These are all things that let new people or just others in general know, hey, they're best sellers and top rated because people love these products, but it helps guide them a little bit. So what I would encourage people to do is take a look at their own store, star ratings, testimonials. These are things you're already collecting on product reviews. So it's just taking some of that content that exists currently, using it and building it into your templates. And you can use that one-off. You could build little content blocks, or you could just hard code a section, a tertiary or recovery section in your emails that focus on some of these things. But look at your own product, look at your own brand and see, okay, how much of this content do we have? How much can we create over here? And where can we put it inside of an email? And I'll show you an example of what that looks like here in just a second. I would do the same thing with value adds. And these are your competitive differentiators, right? So, again, I got ahead of myself, but cost and speed of shipping, friendly return policy. Do you charge for returns? Do you not? Customer service, it's a huge differentiator nowadays. If you have 24/7 customer service, or you have, manually staffed customer service where they're friendly, that is a value add. That is a differentiator you can promote to people. People love to know they are going to feel taken care of. So look at your own program, look at your own company and say, okay, what do we have that our competitors don't, or where are we in equal footing? And we want to promote these at all places. So if you always have free shipping over $25 or whatever that threshold is, and you have 2-day shipping, maybe a banner at the top of your email. So every time they open an email, it's the first thing they see, right? It's kind of par for the course. Free returns, return policies are kind of this, it's at an inflection point right now. Return policies are hard to control cost with, but consumers look for them, and it does influence purchasing decisions. So look to see where you can differentiate yourself and promote these things. And you can see on the left-hand side there, that little example. This is just a recovery section of someone's email. Put the customer service rating. It's important for them. They got those little icons for the value adds, and they just start working that way. And it's just going to reinforce message after message after message when people see these things that, yeah, they have these. So one way we could do this, here's an example. You can see the primary call to action, which is the shop now. So you've got the hero content above that. And then they go and they just layer these things. So right underneath the shop now call to action, they've got value adds. So if you're going to click on that call to action, you're going to see some of those value adds immediately with that call to action. You're going to see star ratings. You're going to see testimonial here. And that testimonial, a lot of people will think it'll be about the product. Well, you can make it about the product. You can also make it about the company. So you'll see a lot of product reviews be like, hey, this is a wonderful product. The sizing fit great. Got there extremely quick. Customer service was super helpful for me. And you could take those little snippets out and talk about the company value add, which might be more impactful for, say, welcome messages or things like that. And then they use the recovery as an additional value add section. So again, they're going to showcase, cruelty free, vegan, 24/7 live support here. So These are things that can really help. And then from a template standpoint, if we look at kind of an example of a whole template, this isn't a end all be all here, but you could see kind of a general shell for how that would look like at the left, and then the right would be just an example of a brand kind of walking through. And the goal is really to make these your own, make it fit in with your brand, make it fit in with how your tone of voice, your brand color, your scheme. And the more you put these in there, the more they're going to do these little, I always like to say death by a thousand paper cuts, right? Or shavings make a pile. So consumers seeing one time, four times, 10 times, 20 times, it starts to build that trust and consumer confidence in your brand. So look across your program, look in your emails, so your campaign messages, your automations, anything else, and look to see where you can subtly and cleanly add social proof and value adds. And you don't have to hit them all. Hit the ones that matter to consumers, and you'll have the best idea what matters to your consumers more than anyone else. All right, my third email due for today is going to be grow your SMS list. And you might be sitting there going, well, Greg, we're talking about email, but SMS is a really important topic I think we need to talk about here for a little bit. So, uh, we see the growth continue. 2 years ago, it was 58%, so almost 60% year over year. Even with that growth, we still saw 33% more messages sent year after year. US customers alone using Omnisend last year, this is from our stats report, 25 million in SMS only sales. So to say it's not uh, relevant is not true. And I think some of the things we've seen over the course of, and I helped brands launch SMS programs over a decade ago, and it's so much easier and so much simpler to do now than it was back then. And the one thing that has changed over this time, and I think we've all seen this, is that it used to be a generational cohort conversation. Young people texted, young people want to get messages, and then it's kind of blown itself off, right? Baby boomers are using text every single day. My mother is one of them. She is not a technology adopter, and yet she signs up for SMS messages from brands. And she hates shopping online too, right? But she's still getting these SMS messages from brands. So the generational cohort conversation, I think you can get rid of. SMS, text messaging, it is an everyday channel now. So I would lean into it. I would start growing that list, and there's a lot of benefits to it as well. So if you think about, you know, you're always going to have email unsubscribes. It's nature of the beast, always has been, always will be. But what happens if we have someone who realizes that, yeah, email is no longer my jam. I just don't check it enough, but I like SMS, right? So now we have all that customer data, web history. We continue them in the conversation. We have that first party data. It's an opt-in channel. We know it's going to be read. So it's really impactful from that standpoint. So I want to focus on growing your SMS list here. And just like email marketing, SMS automation outperforms basic scheduled campaigns as well. So you can see the stats here. Conversion rate more than double, right? It's just the way it is. And we kind of see that pacing with the percentage of order and percentage of send. So if nothing else, if you start collecting SMS messages or mobile numbers for SMS marketing and you're saying, hey, I don't want to send messages all the time, I would say, okay, fine, don't do that. The great place to start is look at some of those high intent automations you're doing. So, if you're collecting mobile numbers, put a SMS welcome message, right? Maybe do something for cart abandonment, keep people back, and make those automated messages more impactful for you. So you're not, one, you're not doing more expensive paid retargeting on like paid social, paid search for those people that maybe abandon a shopping cart, but you're taking every step with first party data to try to recapture those things here. So that's going to be really important as well. And then I would say the other time is when push comes to shove, how does SMS compare? How can it help me if, say, I don't use it all the time? And I would always look to where push comes to shove. It's going to be Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right? It's that holiday shopping period, which is really now 3 months long. Let's face it. So let's just say Q4. So I was digging through some of the stats on the year end. I'm saying, okay, so I talk about the Cyber 10 a lot, and that's going to be the Sunday before Black Friday going through Giving Tuesday, so the day after Cyber Monday. 10-day span there, generally the 10 best days of any calendar year for brands, especially from an email and SMS side. No brainer. But we've seen SMS kind of take hold and really supplement these things. So the Sunday before Black Friday, this really kicks off Black Friday week, which is it has evolved into now. But last year over this year, or this year over last year, twice as many SMS sends that day. Over that entire period, we've gone up 10%. You can see, November, 4.5 million of that $25 for US customers came in November alone. And I think it was like maybe 3 million came in that 10-day period. So substantial figure. We see high AOVs. And then overall conversion rates during that time are higher than the baseline. So higher than the rest of the month, higher than the rest of the year, right? So when push comes to shove and inboxes get really crowded, do people turn to SMS? Can it capture attention? And the answer is ultimately yes, right? So I think for brands, you just need to figure out where to do them the best. So how do we do that? Well, let's talk about just growing the list for a second. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can obviously use a pop-up and just whether it's a one-step form or a two-step form, just add a mobile number field to your pop-up. Here is where I would advise people always, always, always make that field optional. Do not force them to sign up for SMS messages, right? So, and you can even do that with email. So if you have both email and SMS on a single form, you can make the email field optional, the SMS field optional, and just let them choose either or both lists they want to go on to. And one of the pushbacks I would get from brands or questions I would get from brands was always, well, I don't think my products or I don't think my audience wants SMS. And there's that preconceived notion. But what I would tell them is just put the mobile number field on the pop-up form or the landing page, whatever you want to do. And then if they don't sign up, that's your indication that, yeah, your audience isn't really invested in it. If they do sign up, it's an indication that your audience does want that, and you just need to figure out how to use it. And you do not need to use this is a whole nother conversation. You could look at our YouTube page. We just did a getting started with SMS webinar as well. But this is the thing where you don't need to send a text message every time you send an email. You can have that at different cadences. So collect the mobile numbers. That's going to be your first step. Now, another way you can promote this, we talked about those value adds and social proof and messages, but you can also use, you can see on the left-hand side of the screen here, is this is just the recovery section of someone's email. So you can have a little graphic there that says, hey, join our SMS club. And just that will link to a landing page. You can create those in Omnisend and you can collect mobile numbers at that point. So it's kind of a multi-prong approach to how you want to grow your SMS list, but it is going to be important, especially in those automations, right? And we're seeing the economy kind of push families now. They are still value minded with their shopping. We saw it over Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Sales increased, the total number of orders decreased, but average order increased, which means fewer overall purchases were made. But the people who were making purchases were value minded, but also spending more with one company, which means there are fewer kind of one purchase here, one purchase there, one purchase there. It's going to be one purchase here for three things, right? So capturing every last dollar is important. And if SMS is one of your avenues to capture that sale, it's going to be really important for you. So taking that into consideration, my three do's are to use automation, especially welcome browse abandonment or product abandonment, whichever you want to do there, and cart abandonment. Kind of a fourth of that runner-up is back in stock if you can. Look for areas in your templates, both automated and campaign, so across your emails as a whole for social proof and value adds. And then focus on growing your SMS list if you haven't yet, or if you do and currently doing that, look at those optimizations you can make. So make that field optional versus a required field. Maybe promote it in your messages as well and go from there. So those are my three do's. Hopefully there's something in here, but if you have any questions or you want to combat me on something, let's have a conversation, throw them in the question and answer, and I'll be sure to jump over there when we wrap up the presentation. Maybe we can have a little discussion about that. All right, so that's three. Let's jump over to our email marketing don'ts. And this is probably the most fun part because things you shouldn't do, and some people might be doing it, and that's kind of the fun part of it. And this one, it might be a little more controversial than the rest. And I've had this pushback with people I've had conversations at conferences with different marketers around this, and there's definitely two sides of the story here. But uh, let's talk. Sorry, uh, emails that tell your brand story. So this is fun. We have a lot of people on the call today. In general, they are mom and pop. They are solopreneurs. They started their business because it is a maybe hobby turned into a profession. They've got a love for it. There is a family story and a dynamic background there, which can be valuable to tell. I think to me, I say it's a matter of how you tell it and what's the call is. So here's where I go with this. Uh, no one cares. So that's probably bold. Some people probably do care. So let me just admit that. I'm saying this for shock here, but it's not why people sign up for your email program. So uh, if I go to a website and I like the products and you're offering me a discount to sign up, I'm not signing up because I want to hear more about the brand story. Generally, there's a link on your website that tells about the brand story. It could even be a little thing snippet on your homepage that says, hey, family owned and trusted for 15 years, whatever it might be, meet our founder, Joe, right? And there could be those things there. And some people will care about that, but ultimately consumers are there because they're looking to shop. That's why welcome messages convert so much. So if they're looking to shop and I'm looking for products and I maybe don't know where to go, and you send me a welcome email that instead of saying, hey, check out our customer favorites or our top rated products, says, hey, thanks for signing up for our program. Let me tell you all about us. We're not helping guide the customer journey there. So to me, I think there's a balance you need to strike if your family story, if the company story is important to the brand and you think it's important to the customers that helps drive sales. I think that's an area where you need to balance that a little bit more and just kind of work it. The other thing to look at is, what are you doing from a mobile standpoint? Most people are opening emails on their phones. So am I including this long thing with a lot of long text here? People are just not going to read it. Sorry, they just won't, right? They're going to scan through there and they'll probably look for those images. So, what does this mean? Does it mean we shouldn't talk about a brand story? We should never focus on anything. I always say, look at the intent of the customer who signs up, and that's going to be to shop, to get a discount, or to get more information about maybe top selling products. And then how do we marry that with maybe something that's important to us, like a brand story? So, this isn't a perfect example. Still, for me, there's a little too much text in here, but it's done, I think, in a very balanced way. So if I open this email on my phone, I'm going to see I've got to pinch and zoom to see that text because it is in the image itself. But if I'm there to shop, I can shop. I've got a clear call to action right away to shop now. I've got a small section that shows me they're family owned, which is great. So that's a nice way to kind of balance those things. I've got a functionality and style, which is really just a value add. Hey, our products are functional, they're stylish. Here you go. There's a visual, there's a lifestyle image with it. And then you can see it's cut off here at the bottom, but ethically made, right? So they've got a section, which again is one of their value adds they're promoting. So, hey, we're family owned, we're ethically made products, which is good. That can help build consumer confidence and trust with the brand. They're functional and style. So to me, this is a pretty well done way to balance the fact that yeah, the family owned aspect they feel is important for their businesses. People can click on that. They can go to a landing page that tells a little bit more about it. And then they also promote those other things, but there's a clear call to action to shop now. To me, that's the most important thing. They're signing up to shop. We've provided that for them. So, I think if we look at this and say, okay, however it fits your brand story, how do we balance that? And if we focus on our email dues, right? We want to do those value adds. We want to do the social proof in there. We want to guide the customer journey. We want to follow the customer intent with these messages. How do we balance that in there? And that could just be a small section, maybe a nice hero image that shows something, and then you link them to a part of your website that tells a little bit more about the brand. For the people that want to know about that, they can click on it. For the ones that want to shop or be guided, they can shop and be guided, and they have those options there for it. So that's what I would do. For a welcome message standpoint, I know when I still get welcome messages that have a lot of text in there, or just they don't hit the mark. I close out of them and I don't go back. It's just the way it is. And attention spans are short. We're a visual society now. We want to get onto there. So I don't know if anyone has any rebuttals to that. I'm all ears for you. So, or maybe if anyone's using more of a text-based or kind of a family or customer company history centered welcome message, I'd love for you to chat and let's take a look at it. All right, my number two. This is where the story is, man. If we were at a coffee shop right now, I would tell you stories that is like cloak and dagger about purchasing email lists from way back in the day, because this is something that's been around since day one. It is unbelievable. but it's just as impactful. It's probably more impactful now than it was then. So here's what I say with purchase email lists. Don't do it. Just never do it. It will tank your deliverability. It'll ruin your brand reputation. And a lot of people think that, oh, I'll do it here and my deliverability is going to tank, and then I'll just change email providers and everything will be fixed. It's not how it works now, right? They follow that domain, that brand domain around. It's part of one of those things. It's not the only thing, but it's one of those things that will impact your overall deliverability. So just don't do it. And I can tell you, man, you should have seen what we used to do way back in the day. It is, I mean, it is just uncanny to think about now. But we had like 30 different email providers. We would use one to kind of clean lists, and it would get it would get blacklisted within 5 minutes after sending. We got Spam House shutting it down, and then we're taking the cleaner ones to a different ESP, and then we're cleaning them again, and we're going through, and it was cat and mouse, and we get shut down. It was unbelievable what we used to do there. So just don't do it because it will come back to bite you. So here's how I look at it. It's slow and steady, but grow your list organically. We talked about using pop-ups. We talked about using landing pages to promote things. You can use social media to do it, but really it's going to be a slow and steady approach to grow a clean, healthy list that will protect your deliverability, protect that inbox, and the better deliverability, more clicks, more opens, more engagement, more sales you are going to get. So I know a lot of and I used to work with them, but I know a lot of people will say, "Hey, my boss wants me to have a certain number of email contacts," right? That's their goal. It looks better for their boss. They say, "Hey, I've got 400,000 email contacts. Look at us." And you've got 300,000 of those who are unengaged, and you're buying lists to try to get to that number. And then you're going, "Oh, I got 400." And then you're on the back end setting messages going, "Hey, our deliverability is terrible and we're getting a 2% open rate." And they're saying, "Well, how come?" Right. And there's this balance here. So that's a real world conversation that does happen. And so So John wants to sell some emails right now. This it's just the nature of the beast, but just don't do it. You will be in pain trying to get out of the spam folder and just trying to get to a respectable deliverability thing. It is hard now. Google, Yahoo, all these ISPs, they do not like it. So here's what to do. Just focus on growing the list. Have a pop-up, have it optimized, collect the addresses, build a healthy list, clean your unengaged contacts. These things will all help. It's going to be slow and steady. If you're looking for a baseline, say, well, what's a good growth rate? I will look at your unsubscribe rate, and you're always going to get those unsubscribes. If you're losing 100 customers or 100 contacts a month, your goal should be to grow more than 100 contacts a month and balance these things out. Look for how you can grow these during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or these other peak shopping periods that are maybe important for you. Maybe it's President's Day for furniture retailers, or Valentine's Day for whatever, like chocolate or hearts or whatever you're selling here. So grow during those periods of time. Maybe use an exclusive offer to sign up for emails or to opt into SMS at those particular moments and try to accelerate the growth there, and then try to keep them engaged as you move through. And then, again, it's going to be a smaller approach and a smaller kind of dividend. But we talked about back in stock emails before. So, say you're a Shopify brand and you've got out of stock products and you update those, you can use an Omnisend form, just embed that real quick. It'll show up only when the product's out of stock. And when it comes back in stock, it'll disappear, but it'll trigger off those automations. So collect those out of stock ones if you can as well. Be a slower growth, but shavings make a pile, right? So we get 4 contacts a month. That's 4 engaged people we have here. So that's just don't purchase email lists. If we ever see it meet up at a conference or I'm out vacationing in the mountains there, we will chat about some horror stories from buying lists because they are fun ones. All right. So my third and final don't for today is going to be, and you've seen it before, is using large chunks of text. So we saw it in the welcome message example before. I'm going to show you another promotion here in a second, but it's tough. We want to copyright, we want to convey stories, but pictures do that very well. If you look at, all the social media today, right? Reddit is probably the exception, but it's definitely more of an engagement channel. But Instagram, TikTok, pick one, right? It's just visuals. It's how people respond when they're going to the inboxes or their promotions tab or wherever they're going. They are looking for visuals. They want to be inspired. And when you do large chunks of text in your messages, it's hard for people to kind of, one, focus on where to go, but two, they're opening their phones. They're not pinching and zooming. If you're like me, you can see my glasses, right? I am not doing that. It's just I can't read it. Right. So focus away if you want to put text in there, right? Accessibility purposes, great. Find a way to do it a little bit differently. Use larger text, use bold, use HTML text, but make it more balanced where people, if they want to see it, they can scan it quickly, right? 1.5 lines of text that convey and move people through. Fine, right? That's the goal here is we get people moving through so they can scan and figure out what they want to click as quickly as possible while engaging them. But visuals are going to be your key here. Visuals are what's going to sell. I've joked about this on a Omnisend podcast. It's like, hey, you know what? Why don't we create a e-commerce shop where we don't put any pictures on it? We just have descriptions of everything. Like, I wonder how stuff would sell there. My guess is probably not very well, right? People want to look at stuff. They want to be engaged. They want to be enticed. They want to be, uh, you know, inspired. And we do see that during Black Friday, Cyber Monday as well, where open rates, click rates go up, but it's because people are going to the promotions tab with the purpose of shopping. When they go to a brand's email, they're going there for a reason, not just because they were, I don't know, maybe it's because they were bored, but they're going there for product discovery, for inspiration. And when we provide them text, we kind of take that away from them a little bit. So I would use pictures. And again, just if you use text, use it, balance it well, right? Make it larger, make people skim it and kind of shoot through. And that's how you're going to do it. So I would always say pictures worth 1,000 words. Skip 1,000 words, use a picture instead. And then obviously provide a call to action. So what we could do if you use text, keep it short and sweet, right? Kiss, keep it simple. Uh, you know, with the images, focus on the lifestyle, the product, and think about, you want to say, hey, sweater is cute, chic, casual, in style. You want to kind of convey that as best possible. Well, a good lifestyle image can convey all those things, and you can just use 1 or 2 words to kind of draw attention, use that caption there. So use it as best possible. And then testimonials, right? We talked about that. That's a good type of text, right? Because you can frame that in a way where it's going to convey back to the product or the brand, but that's a good form of text. But testimonials are not the key of the message. They're supplemental text to support the overall message or the overall brand. So this is where you want to go with it. Again, just balance it. Everything is a balance here. So everything in moderation, I think, is where you're good. So that gets me to, you know, we're limiting these things as best possible and trying to maximize each of these emails for highest conversion as possible. So when we look at our email dues, right, we want to use our automations. We want to lean into those. They are going to help us drive sales while we're sleeping, while we're focusing on other areas of our business. We can always go back and optimize those, add different messages to those series, add different automations. But your key ones are going to be your welcome message, your product abandonment, and your cart abandonment. Those are going to drive the majority of your automated sales. I think it might have been like 82% of all automated sales came from those three messages. So you want to lean into them, optimize them, and you could do that by including more social proof and value adds into those. But I would look where you can templatize those as best possible and focus on growing your SMS list as well. So again, it's a first party channel. It's not going to be you don't have to worry about SMS being banned by the US, right? Like they do TikTok and you get that on again, off again. You don't need to worry about fluctuating costs. You don't need to worry about algorithm changes. You have that contact info, first party data. You can market to them at a much cheaper cost here. As far as don'ts, right? Balance telling your brand story in an email. Don't just tell the brand story in the email. It's not why people are there. So find your balance, find your zen, and you'll be good. Do not buy email lists. I'm not even going to tell you to balance this one. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And use large chunks of text. Don't do it as well. So use text sparingly. Use it strategically. Again, we're talking about balance here. So use it where you can. Figure out how you can shorten it. If you want to use AI to say, hey, I got this paragraph, cut this down to 7 words for me. Plug it in, see what it gets you, and that'll play around. Good way to use text as well. So I didn't mention this before, but uh, create a subject line. If you've got a paragraph of text, what subject line would you use for that paragraph? And if you create a short subject line, it should get you a pretty good, concise kind of recap of what you're looking for. And that's a good way to do it there. And then you can say, okay, I've got these these 7 words here. 7 words good, or do I need to cut to 5? And then you can kind of figure out how you use that text a little more strategically. So those are my 3 do's, my 3 don'ts. You don't have to like them, you don't have to agree with them, but I'm open to that conversation. So with that being said, I'm going to shoot over to our Q&A section here, see if we have something to talk about. Feel free again, put in the Q&A. Thank you, Omnisend, for mentioning that. And then let's see. All right. What's the recommended number of emails to include in a cart abandonment? Sorry, I'm looking up here. Let me try to get down so I'm looking at the camera. Okay, what's a recommended number of emails to include in a cart abandonment automation workflow, and how far apart should they be sent? So, great question. I'll provide a little context here. So, thank you, D. I currently send 2 messages in my workflow. First one 2 hours after abandonment, then another 24 hours. Is this about right? All right, D, that's a great question. I'm going to give you the consultant's cop out, which everyone loves. I always like saying that, is you have to test it. All right, so with that being said, I don't think your 2 to 24 hours is necessarily wrong. I think that's a pretty good time for those. I'm an aggressive guy, so here's how I look at it. I would do the first one. This is going to be comfort level, is either 30 minutes or 1 hour after abandonment. So a lot of people will start at 1 hour. It's typical. You can be more aggressive and do 30 minutes. But and then if I do 1 hour, I'm going to shoot for 3 or 4 messages in a series in most cases. So I might do 1 hour, 12 hours, 24 hours. There's nothing wrong with doing 1 hour and 24. There's absolutely nothing wrong with your timing, 2 hours, 24 hours. I look at it and I say, okay, if they're abandoning for a lot of different reasons. They could have gotten distracted. They probably didn't have one of those oops moments, right? They could be price shopping elsewhere. If they're price shopping elsewhere, I want to try to capitalize it upon that. And I know they're in front of their computer or their phone. They probably have access to email. They might be signing up for a competitor's email program to get 10% off or whatever they're promising. So they're going to be going to the email inbox to look for those messages. If I get my cart abandonment message in there right away, again, I'm staying top of mind with them. So that's where I go with it. So I would normally go 1 hour, 12 hours, 24 hours. You could do one, 24, 36, right? I think those are all fine. But 1, 12, 24 is where I would normally start. But yours is fine. Here's the number of messages. So I mentioned that I generally like 3 or 4 messages in most cases. I still stand by that. You can space these out, right? So every brand is going to be a little bit different. If you're selling a $4,000 couch, it probably don't need 1 hour, 12 hours, 24 hours, right? That decision cycle is going to be a little bit longer. So obviously look at your own products, your own price points, and figure out where that timing is. If it's a $4,000 couch, one, it's out of my budget, but two, I might be looking at maybe 2 hours and then 24 hours, giving some more detail about something, right? I want to kind of focus on those value adds. What's my return policy? What's my shipping policy? Do I have haulaway for current things, right? I'm going to give them more info than I might in like a cheap consumer electronic cart abandonment. And then I might do like another day or two in between there because they're probably talking to their spouse or they're shopping at different stores trying to find something. And then I would follow up with the fourth one a few days later as well to try to get them back. I think the other thing you could do there is I talked about this just kind of very loosely earlier, is look at the splits that you could do in the automation. So there is an option within the workflows to say, okay, let's split this path based on what the cart total is. So here's an instance. So let's just say your free shipping threshold is 75 bucks. So you can split that and say, okay, is the threshold under $75? Right. And you could even do $30 or whatever and say, okay, if it's under this amount, one, I'm going to make the message. One of the big call outs in that message is going to be, hey, don't forget free shipping over 75. So I want to increase your average order value, but I also want to try to get them. So maybe my discount, if I want to provide them a discount at that point, is going to be 10% off over 100 or something like that. So I increase the AOV and then I get the free shipping. But maybe if they're 30 bucks, maybe I don't want to send them 3 or 4 messages. And I could say, okay, you're under this threshold. I'm just going to send you two. I'm going to send you a quick one and I'm going to send you one a day later, call it out. But the ones that are maybe over 100 or over 75, I don't need to heavily promote free shipping. That's more of a throwaway, right? It's, hey, don't forget, you also qualify for free shipping. But maybe those, because I know there's probably different reasons they're abandoning. It could be price, it could be return policies, probably return policies as part of it. Maybe I want to send them more messages because the car total is higher, but I can also promote different things on there. So that's kind of how I would look at it. Look at every brand's going to be different, but look at product price points. And the other thing you can do, so D or anyone else, in those splits, you can also split by purchase history, and this is one of those benefits too. So you have SMS, you can see if they're purchasing, but hey, are they a brand new customer? Maybe I want to send them a couple more messages. I want to highlight some different things in those messages, and I want to incentivize them to for that customer acquisition. If they're a frequent repeat purchaser, I don't need to send them three, four messages, right? Maybe just that one or two spaced out is fine for them. And then I can treat those people who have purchased one time coming back for a second purchase. We know that customer is extremely valuable for us from a profit standpoint. And I want to kind of guide them differently. So you have a lot of different options where you can easily split those paths and say, okay, I like my 224, but I'm going to treat these never purchasers a little bit different. You can just add a little path in there and kind of see what sticks for you. So that's a long answer with a lot of variables. So I would do three or four messages in most cases. Understand your brand, your product. Two 24 hours, it's a fine split. I like one 12, 24 initially, unless it's, a $10 cart. So hopefully that helps. If not, you can find me on LinkedIn or hit me up here and we can talk about this as well. All right. Um, I'm assuming this is, I'm going to butcher your name. I think it's Margot. Uh, Do you have any general stats on which is best converting email within 3, 4 hours that you send in an abandoned flow, or is it industry dependent? Okay, stats on which is best converting email within 3, 4 hour that you send. Uh, I'm trying, Margot, I think I understand your question. I'm not hours. So if I understand, just give me a thumbs up here or a yes here. So if I understand you, Margot, is it uh, within 3, 4 hours versus outside 3, 4 hours for the first abandoned cart message? Am I understanding that correctly? Oh, email with three or four, or is it 3 or 4 messages? Converts better with 3 messages versus one that converts better with 4 messages. Okay, well, I'll try to answer both of those real quick. So, but Margot, if you have a chance to chime in, just let me know if it's within 3, 4 hours or if it's within 3 messages versus 4 messages. Okay, so I would say stats, not offhand. So we don't break down just our sets. It's just too complex to do. We don't break down all those things specifically. It's like whether it's 3 messages or 4 messages. We do look at hours on some things, so best hours to send with some messages. However, I'll just kind of give you anecdotal evidence from all my times working with clients, doing emails, talking to clients for uh, how they're finding success. Typically, within the first 3 hours, specifically within the first 2 hours, we find that first abandoned cart message is going to convert best. The further away from that you get, it's there. As far as the number of messages, oh, I gotcha. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna refine this here. So thank you, Margot. So the question is, within a series of emails, whether you have 3 or 4 messages in your abandoned cart message, are there stats that says, hey, the one you send at 2 hours converts better than, say, the fourth one that you send 24 hours later or 36 hours later? So pretty much the further away you get from the abandonment, is there an impact on conversion rates? And yes, there is. So the further away from abandonment you get, the lower that conversion rate comes down. So thank you, Margot. Um, Typically, what we'll see is just that. If you can consolidate those, and this is why I'm an aggressive guy here when it comes to cart abandonment. But if you can capture, usually that first 24 hours is kind of your golden day there. So 24 hours, whether you send one message or 3 messages in that time, that's going to be your highest converting period, right? 3 messages, you have a better chance of converting them, or two. But some brands, based on again, based on price point, you might go 36 to 48 hours. I've seen that with higher ticket items. But generally, the first 24 hours is when people are going to be most engaged with the products. When you get the 3 and 4 messages, I've had a client do 6 messages before. I think it's probably overkill, but to each his own. But the further away you get, it's going to go down. Now, interestingly, the best practice for years was always 3 messages. Don't do more than three, don't do fewer than three. That was always the best practice. And then, life changes, phones change. And I used to have, even back then, I used to tell my clients, hey, I would do a fourth message here, kind of a last chance. You're going to send them an email anyways, right? You're going to send them probably just a scheduled promotional, irrelevant, unsegmented message anyways. Why don't you just take another stab at it? And I would have clients do it only for the Black Friday, Cyber Monday period. Okay, we'll add a fourth because we know people are shopping. Inboxes get crowded, might get lost in the shuffle, but they're still shopping. And that fourth message during Black Friday, Cyber Monday was always really successful. And a lot of times it performed better than the third message. Again, based on when that third message is sending. Back then, it used to be like 48 or 72 hours. And what the theory was always that, hey, maybe they missed the third message or they already got the other two, they skipped past it, but then they were ready to buy. And that fourth message was the timely one. So a lot of times you'll see the fourth one actually do better than the third. Not always, but it happens quite frequently. So this is why I say I like 4 messages. You just need to space it out, but understand your products, your buying windows, and your price points here. So, and a lot of those clients that used to use it for Black Friday, Monday, Cyber Monday shopping period, they just kept it year round from that point, and they just adjust the timing if they needed to a little bit. So, but thank you, Margot. Great question. But yes, further away from abandonment, lower those conversion rates, typically, which is why I try to hit them early. I try to capture that sale. And let's move on. So great questions from everyone here. Any other questions before? It looks like the Q&A is empty right now, but any other questions anyone wants to chime in or chat? I'm going to scroll through the chat real quick, see if there's anything maybe I missed here that wasn't brought over. Hmm. All right. I think there was a little discussion about send cadence on SMS. It wasn't a specific question. I think the back and forth there. I mentioned before, I'll chime in super quick here. Again, you don't need to send an SMS, and I wouldn't encourage you to with every single email you send. I think one a week is probably good for most brands. You might want to do like one every 10 days. Again, for most brands, I think that's typically where I fall. I'm signed up for a bunch of them. I get some that are maybe twice a week from some brands. Those are okay if I'm really engaged with the brand. Otherwise, one a week is probably good for me. Uh, Again, that might change during times of year, right? So if you're selling something that's maybe romance, doesn't have to be romance specific, but maybe a little more Valentine specific, you might be able to do 2 week for those peak periods. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we get lost in the shuffle, so same thing there. But that's kind of how we'll look at it. So good back and forth, I think there. But yeah, definitely look at one a week is probably good for most SMS programs, one every 10 days. So, all right, it looks like our Q&A is empty. I appreciate everyone kind of hanging on, walking through these with me. You can always find me on LinkedIn if you want to have a conversation. If you do connect with me on LinkedIn, just put a short note in that connection request that why you're connecting with me. There's a lot of spam on there now, so without the personal note, I normally just decline those things. I'm also on Blue Sky. If anyone's on Blue Sky, I find the chatter over there a little more refreshing and focused on business, although it's growing. So you can find me, just search the name there. But I appreciate everyone's time. Happy marketing and have a great day, everyone. Cheers.